Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in Fantasy Life right here on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. We are so excited to have you here with us today, hanging out. Friday, Adam, we made it. Everything's great. We've got 2 hours of a great show planned, and we have a ton of news that we have to get to. Isn't it great though when it happens? It's right after the show, and then we just have all this stuff to talk about at the top. How you doing? How's it going?
Yeah, doing well. It is. We made it to Friday, but we still have to
We
get
did.
through the show. We're not
Yeah,
there yet.
not
So,
yet.
and you have to tell people to leave work early. So that's when we know it's officially a Friday. So we're waiting on that.
Summer
Usually you
Fridays.
wait like an hour in, but yeah, there's a lot to talk about.
We're an hour early. I can't wait till we're an hour in now because then we would like last year it was noon, right? When we would do the water cooler and I'd just say, don't come back from lunch.
Yeah.
So now just a couple hours, but they can do it. Ani's got summer Fridays locked down.
He takes off a lot of days in the summer. Like every day is Friday for him, it feels like.
We've got a great show planned for you, though. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us here today. As always, fantasylife.com. That's where, if we're referencing any articles, that's where they're from, unless stated otherwise. But we've got all of our updates in, and I think everyone should go and check those out because, Adam, we had to update a ton of rankings yesterday from all the news that we got. So we can start off the top, and we'll get right into it here. Rashee Rice, let's start with him, was sentenced to 30 days of jail time. So Rashee Rice, you got 30 days of jail time, 5 years probation for that multi-car crash that happened last season. I've always told you, I feel like we've been talking about this forever, but finally that kind of came to a close a little bit yesterday. So Rashee Rice, when people hear 30 days jail time, Rashee Rice can serve that jail time at any point during the 5 year probation or probationary period. So he's not, that's something that he can look at. He paid over $115,000 to the victims last March. But the one thing that we know now is that the NFL can kind of start to expedite their disciplinary process. We know that some kind of multi-game suspension is going to come down. It's just a question of, and that's what stinks right now, Adam. Is we just don't know. It's still just a wait and see process, but feels like everything's in motion for that to come down sooner rather than later.
Yeah, let's hope so. So we have clarification when we start to do our redraft leagues because it could be a wide range. Again, we really don't know. It could be two, it could be six, and if it's 6 games, that's a significant impact. A lot of times we say, okay, if a player's out, we can replace them, but a lot's gonna come down to the draft cost because Rice was going pretty early in draft. So
Yeah.
I saw a high stakes draft last night where he went late third round. I was a little surprised. I thought he would fall
Really?
further than,
Hmm.
yeah. I don't know if someone missed the news and just jumped in, but I was like, late third round? That seems too early based on the latest news, which came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
That's
it
the other
did.
thing.
I
I
couldn't I
thought he had a
couldn't
court date
remember.
scheduled for January.
I thought that was someone else maybe, but I'm unsure. It did feel like it came out of nowhere, like they just said, "Let's get this done," but maybe we just I don't know, maybe we just weren't following it, but it did feel a little bit random because we knew the Jordan Addison thing was
Yeah.
happening. We knew that that was on Thursday, but yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. And I did go to look at our updated rankings just to see where everyone was at because I do think this is enough where we know. I mean, we just know that a suspension's going to come though, right? We just don't know the timetable.
Yeah.
Like you said, we don't know if it's 2 games, if it's 6 games, but right now, like Rashee Rice is consensus at Fantasy Life wide receiver 58.
58.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
No, no,
think,
no. Wait,
yeah, that
hang on.
can't be
I might
right.
be I
Is
might
that
be at. Oh
maybe
no, I'm on
58
all.
overall?
Sorry, sorry. Yeah, that's
58
overall.
overall,
So
right?
sorry, wide receiver 29.
Okay.
50 so 58th overall pick, wide receiver 20, 28, 29. Yeah. I was like,
Yeah,
wait,
I
that
look.
doesn't sound right.
Yeah, overall, that sounds about right. Fifth, sixth round at this
Hmm.
point. Uh, but again, if it's 6 games, then you're gonna push him down further. So that's the problem is we just don't have the length of the suspension right now. So look, some people, if you're doing now, you're probably doing a lot of best ball drafts right now. There are people doing redraft leagues, but I think most of them are going to start to come in August. But I think some people are just going to say, I don't know, I'm just going to pass. But at some point, you have to jump in and say, all right, I'm going to take him in this spot and deal with it. But the other issue is when you go into the season or you're doing your draft now, you're assuming everyone's going to be good to go for week
Yes.
one, week two, week three. We all know how this works. All right, you take Rice, say 6th round. Okay, I'm fine. I have enough receivers. I'm good for week 1. Week 1 comes, one of your receivers gets hurt. Then week 2, another receiver gets hurt. Now you're sitting there, you're like, okay, I have 3 guys that at receiver that I cannot play. What am I going to do? And if you have leagues with no IR spots, which many don't, now you got your bench full of injured receivers and you're searching for players to start. So that's the issue, is that when you're doing your draft, you think everything is good. All right, I'm just missing one player. Then leading up to the season, whether it's preseason, training camp, injuries could occur week 1, week 2, and now you're sitting there, you go, oh no. So that's the biggest issue. It looks bright right now, the outlook, when you're doing your draft and you're like, yeah, I can fill in for Rice suspended for 4 games, 5 games. I'm good. Then it just can be a problem. So
Yeah.
that's what you have to figure out. Because at some point, yeah, he is going to be a value because we know that when he's on the field, he's been great. And the other issue is he was coming off an injury. A lot of the video that we saw, he looked good. But again, that's just running. It's different when you're going against physical contact. So this could help him and, gives him some extra time to come back. But it is tricky right now because people were paying a high price for him.
Yeah,
He was
he was
going late,
expensive.
like late second, early third round of
Yep.
these best ball drafts. And in best ball, you can probably overcome that. It's a long season, especially early in the year where you have no bye week. So way different in best ball because you just want him for the majority of the season and especially the key playoff weeks. But in redraft, it's a different story.
Yeah, and redraft, it feels like the same conversation we had last season where it's like, okay, if you're doing really early drafts right now in July and you're taking Rashee Rice, just expect, be prepared and make sure you have a plan for when you are taking those zeros. It's just one of those things where we kind of know that the suspension is coming. We're just waiting to see what kind of range of games it's going to be. 2 through 6 is the thing that I've seen going around, which is a wide like that's a big difference, 2 and 6 for us in fantasy football. So if you are drafting him, making sure you have, like you said, that backup plan and hoping that just everything goes right and none of your other receivers get hurt during that time. But Xavier Worthy to the moon, right? Right now. I mean, we talked about Xavier Worthy yesterday without knowing that this was coming down. Or maybe we should just say we did know it. And it's just we're just that we just knew that was going to happen yesterday. But we did talk about Xavier Worthy because Dwayne wrote about him as a potential year 2 breakout player. And so when we saw what he was able to do with the full-time role weeks, like week 14 through the Super Bowl, averaging that 87% route participation, and putting up really like 19 points per game, 25% of the targets, 21% air yard share, he was really good. And so now, not only are we looking at Rashee Rice and moving him down the rankings, but Xavier Worthy has to be a riser over these next few weeks. We have him consensus right now, wide receiver 19 at fantasylife.com.
Yeah, I think there was already excitement for him. Maybe it was tempered a little bit just because you had Rice going a little bit higher. But when Rice is going to miss time and he's off the field, we already saw Worthy get really comfortable and put up some big numbers and used in that role with a lot of the short passes. So, and he had a great postseason run as
Yeah,
well.
he did.
Yeah, even, I mean, that Super Bowl game where they were pretty bad. I think some of it came late when the game was out of hand, but he had 8 catches for 157 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he has showed down the stretch that he could be a big part of the offense. And yeah, with Rice out, that's just going to increase the target share for
It
Xavier
is.
Worthy.
I need more Xavier Worthy. I've decided that now.
You're gonna have to
My
pay for it
goal.
now.
Hey, that's okay. Like I don't know. That's one that I'm just kind of okay with. You just look at the price and you say, yeah, this is understandable. Because once we do get the suspension and the games, like you said, he's just going to get more expensive. So that's my goal in the next couple weeks. Need a little bit more Xavier Worthy here for the upcoming season. The next piece of news that we got that we did actually know, or we had some idea that was coming down here, was Jordan Addison and his DUI case. So Jordan Addison pleaded no contest yesterday yesterday to a lesser charge. This was a 2024 DUI citation. He had his attorney, or his agent tweeting yesterday that the plea agreement it still leaves him subject to NFL discipline. So that's the other part of this, Adam, is this is another guy with Jordan Addison that we're just going to have to wait and see what his suspension is going to look like too, because the NFL's policy on substance of abuse is like relevant in this case from what I was reading per ESPN, because Jordan Addison kind of acknowledged that he did, use alcohol and he drove. And so because of that, we know that at minimum, he's going to have a suspension without pay of 3 regular or postseason games, because that's literally in their policy. So that's at least how I've read it. That's what we can expect. At the very minimum, he's going to get 3 games for this.
Yeah, I think most people were prepared for this one, thinking
Yeah.
that it would occur, and I'm assuming people had that already reflected in the rankings. Because he's been going like wide receiver 36, which is a fair price, even if he misses 3 games. We know how good the offense can be. And if you believe in JJ McCarthy, you probably don't think Addison is going to suffer that much and that
Yeah.
he'll put up similar numbers to what we've seen. And he's been a guy that's finds the end zone in this offense.
Yeah, he's right now consensus wide receiver 35 over on Fantasy Life, but you're right. We knew this. It was just a long process. We just didn't know if it was going to be, last season going into that to the 2024 season, this year, when it was all going to happen. But once we got, the dates and kind of knew it was coming down, we now have clarity. So it's good for Jordan Addison. Like you said, you were probably, if you were drafting him, you knew that this was coming, and you can just expect at least 3 games. We'll see if they give him more, but it doesn't. I saw someone talking yesterday about if we should be drafting more Jalen Naylor, some of the other wide receivers down that depth chart, and it's kind of, we had this conversation about someone else yesterday or a couple days ago where it's just like, no, I don't think we have to go there yet. But yeah, we just have to see what the suspension is, and those guys will probably be more than widely available on the waiver wire anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, assuming it's going to be 3 weeks, if it's the first 3 weeks of the season, no teams on bye, you should
Yep.
have plenty of depth. And maybe if you suffer a couple of injuries early in the season, you pick them up off the waiver wire. But it doesn't seem like you need to go that deep. And, Addison has 19 touchdowns in 32 games in his first 2 seasons. So I'm sure people after his rookie year said, yeah, he's not going to have that many again because it was 1 touchdown every 7 receptions. And he basically did the same thing,
Surprise.
63 receptions, 9 touchdowns. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good offense. And it feels like many people believe in JJ McCarthy. There might be some that don't, but if you do, then you feel that Addison can come close to what he's been doing because it's almost similar stats in his first 2 seasons.
Yeah, it's been impressive for what he's been able to do, and especially last season with Sam Darnold. The quarterback whisperer and Kevin O'Connell. I think for me, when I look at that offense too, I just say to myself, well, if they were comfortable enough to let Sam Darnold walk and just keep JJ McCarthy, it's just I kind of have to, or I kind of just want to blindly believe that they know what they're doing, and that they've seen JJ McCarthy and they know that he's going to be okay for this offense. We've got Jordan Addison at 95 and a half targets for this season, 796 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns still. We've got Justin Jefferson, 146 and a half targets, 1,376 receiving yards, and 8 receiving touchdowns as well. So you kind of know what you get with them. It's Justin Jefferson's world, and we're just living in it. But Jordan Addison still can put up really good numbers.
Yeah, and then a healthy TJ Hawkinson as well,
Yeah.
because he missed the beginning of last season, and even when he came back, he wasn't great. But full off season should be healthy, good to go. Another piece to that offense.
I'm excited about it. I drafted him. I did some DraftKings best ball drafts yesterday. Was able to do those. It's always so fun to see fun. And then at some point, I did a draft with Ian Hartitz live, but before that, I made sure to go in and do a draft on my own to make sure I familiarize myself with those ADPs. So different, Adam. I felt like my team was stacked by the end of it. I was so excited, but TJ Hawkinson was one I think I got in both, if I remember correctly. So I'm enjoying drafting him, especially later.
Yeah, I've taken him in some leagues too. When people wait on the tight ends, he often drops to the 7th round.
Yeah. I just think he's got he was injured last season, or he's coming off his injury, and so now we have another full season where he can heal. He's got a fully healthy off season going on. So I mean, 702 receiving yards, 69 receptions from him, and we have to remember though, the Jordan Addison. Once we get that number of games that he's going to be out, like TJ Hawkinson will be a big part of those games. So we have him projected 125 and a half total fantasy points for the season, but yeah, he's been one that if I've missed out on some of the other guys, the elite tight ends that you're looking for, yeah, I've taken him a little bit later. It's been fun. You should go on to the best ball DraftKings was fun.
Oh, yeah, I'm in a slow
Have you
draft right
done
now.
it?
Yeah.
Oh, slow draft.
Yeah.
What? Uh,
I know
haven't
you
heard.
hate the slow drafts.
I'm in one on Underdog. It feels like I've been doing that draft for a long time. But it is cool to like see the difference in the ADPs because the wide receivers over there are not pushed up like they are on Underdog. And so it's what we always talk about this, but it is if you're able to do more drafts than just showing up for your home leagues and stuff, it does help you kind of realize where these ADPs are, where these players are going. And it was a fun day yesterday doing those.
Yeah, it's very important to take a look at your platform's rankings and ADPs. It makes a huge difference, and people get influenced by it. They just do.
Oh yeah.
Whatever they see in front of them, and if they see the player at the top of the queue, I don't care. I look, I'll take it into account. Like if you have someone in your rankings going in the as a fifth round value, but the platform's ADP is seventh or eighth round, you do have to take that into account. But you also don't want to lose that player because, again, ADP is just the market, and it's often wrong. We can go back and look back at last year and be like, wow, these ADPs are so wrong. So, but you do want to look at the platform because there are disparities. And again, we have that
Yes.
tool on fantasylife.com, which is pretty valuable. It's good to look at.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I knew I needed to do a few more drafts on there because I made the mistake. It was one of my first drafts over on DraftKings yesterday. I made the mistake, Adam, of just not scrolling down the queue. So I see guys that are going way later than I just already assumed,
That they
we're
were,
doing other
yeah.
things, we're working. I just already assumed like one of them was Jordan Mason. I was like, "Oh, Jordan Mason's off the board. It's totally okay." Scroll down, of course, after I make my pick because it's rookie mistakes, and I look at him and I'm just like, wow, here's a whole thing of guys where I just thought that they had already been drafted, and so that's the other important part. And then it was frustrating, Adam. Then I had to chase, and it was fun, but it was fun. We've got more pieces of news that I want to make sure we get to. We have to talk about Mike Williams and the Chargers wide receiver room after his retirement. We got good news, a little bit of good news for Anthony Richardson. So we're going to talk about that. And then we've got a few more wide receiver breakouts that we want to name for you. We're going to do that here coming up next. Who is this, Adam?
I don't know, but based
Yes,
on our
you do.
pre-show conversation, I'm going to take a wild guess that it's Katy Perry.
No, no,
No?
no, 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 no. What
Who is
is
it?
wrong with you?
I don't
This
know.
is not Katy Perry. This is Chapel Roan.
Oh, I don't know.
Gosh, don't do
How do you
that,
expect
Katy
me to know
Perry.
this? For real?
Because we
It's not my
I don't know.
music.
All right, we'll play we'll
I'm
play
re-
your music next. How about that?
I need to do like I
What do you
guess I
want?
don't go to enough concerts, but like I find out about concerts like right the day of or when they just happen, and I am so upset that I missed
Oh,
the
same.
Wu-Tang Clan
Oh. Oh.
farewell tour. They were at the Garden on Wednesday night. Would have been
Oh,
perfect. And then they were
that's the
in
worst.
Jersey last night, and like I saw it way too late. How do I miss these things, man? You gotta
Dang.
help. You gotta keep me
Me.
yeah. Let
No,
me
I'm
know
only
about
gonna
these
tell
things.
you when Sabrina Carpenter's in town,
That's true.
when Katy Perry where's on Katy Perry. That was not Katy Perry. I get it though. You have to sign up for it's annoying, but you have to sign up for the emails.
Okay.
Like the Ticketmaster emails, and
Yeah.
they'll tell you when
I
people
just
are
don't
coming to
check
your
for these
town.
things. So,
I
and then I
know.
see it
That is the
after.
worst. That is the worst thing though. I've done the same thing. I've gone to a ton of concerts this summer though. I've had a good
Yeah,
concert
you
summer.
go to a lot of concerts.
Not a lot, but
No,
this
you
year
do.
I went to Kendrick and SZA. That was
I did
awesome. You
too.
went to that too. It was a
Yeah.
great concert. It was amazing. I went to Beyonce. I told you to go to Beyonce. You wouldn't listen to me. Whatever.
Oh, all right. Well, yeah, Beyonce. Yeah, I wasn't gonna do that. She was in the area too.
I know. She was right next door. I don't know. Well, they'll play your music. Maybe. What do you want? Why don't you make a request?
For what? A
Your
concert?
music. No,
Oh,
your
on the
music on this
show?
show.
I
Yeah.
mean, they know what I like, but
Okay.
you tell them not to play it.
I that is such a lie. It's
You have to
crazy.
control everything.
Oh yeah, that's everyone knows me. That's me.
It's
Totally
true.
gotta control the music. No, fine. Well, they can play whatever they want that they think that you would like. We'll do it here. I did want to get to one more piece of news here that we weren't able to get to last segment, but
Coldplay?
well, don't talk about
Oh,
Coldplay.
okay. I
Don't
thought that
do
was
this.
next.
Don't do that. Well, we could play Coldplay if you'd if you really like to. So bad. Mike Williams retired. It came the quote was it came as a shock to the organization. They were not expecting this at all. I know he was placed on pup a couple days ago for an injury that he had during the offseason, but really they from everything that I've read, they were very surprised that this was happening. And so he spent 7 seasons with the Chargers, then he was released we saw him with the Jets, we saw him with the Steelers. Ranks 10th on the Chargers franchise receiving yards list, 4,806 yards, 13th in receptions and touchdowns over there. But yeah, this was kind of surprising, Adam. The good news, though, is that Trey Harris did show up to camp. And I think that's the bigger part of this conversation is because now when we talk about the wide receiver two on this team, not that Mike Williams was really anyone that we were going out and drafting, but it was still another body. And so now it's really Trey Harris, Quentin Johnston that we have to talk about here. But yeah, Trey Harris was able to get his rookie contract done, signed. So we should see him at camp. So he's not missing any valuable time, which is really important.
It felt like Mike Williams retired a few years ago.
Don't I knew you were gonna say
So
something.
how do you know you did it? No,
Yes.
I've always liked Mike Williams for fantasy, drafted him many years, and it's just the injuries were always a factor. And it felt like every time he was going up for a pass, made a great catch, he would
Yeah.
land hard and then get injured. But he had a couple big years throughout his career, but I don't think many people were drafting Mike Williams this year, even in
Yeah.
basketball. He was going late, but I don't think there were big expectations for him. And yeah, it's unfortunate. His body couldn't hold up. 6'4", 220, big guy, and now 30 years old, turning 31. So felt like I guess his body just couldn't give it a go anymore. And it's unfortunate, but
Yeah.
I do remember he had some pretty big years, a couple big years in there for fantasy, and I always thought he could be better.
Yeah, I agree. Again, you said it. We weren't going out of our way to draft Mike Williams, but kind of brings up the question of what you're doing if you're targeting anyone else for this wide receiver room. We already know what McConkey could be this season. We talked about him yesterday, and that article from Dwayne is live at fantasylife.com. So the year 2, year 3 breakouts and their potential. So we know what Lad is. Quentin Johnston, Trey Harris. Do you think we should be paying more attention? I can't, I have to ask it though for Quentin Johnston. I know that we talk about the drops, we talk about everything else with Quentin Johnston, but should we be paying more attention to him and not just talking about Trey Harris here?
Yeah, I think so. We've kind of made fun of him a lot, but he had
Yeah.
some games last year. He scored 8 touchdowns. So the one thing is, we know this is not going to be a pass heavy offense that they really want to run the football. So it's not like you want to invest heavily in the receivers, but I do think Johnston becomes, a late round pick that will be on your bench and you see how it pans out. So, yeah, I don't think you can ignore him. That's for sure. So, he's going to be like
Okay.
right at, wide receiver 60, 65 range probably, but you're going to take Trey Harris before him.
He scored more PPR points per game than Marvin Harrison Jr. last season.
Oh boy, when you put it that way,
I'm so
that
sorry. I
really
had to.
stinks for the
Yeah, I
people that
know.
had Marvin
Me,
Harrison Jr.
I'm raising my hand. It's just a little twist of the knife there for any Marvin Harrison Jr. managers last season. Sorry to say it, but yeah, you had to give him credit for what he was able to do last season. And again, when you lose Mike Williams, for fantasy we weren't talking about him, but there is a wide open wide receiver two role in this offense, and so Trey Harris, we've mentioned him. We've mentioned him a lot, and we're excited now that he's able to go into training camp, get the chemistry going with his quarterback there. But we just have to watch. Trey Harris is one that I have taken not a ton of because the contract situation was making me nervous. But I do now have to take maybe a second look at Quentin Johnston. Wonder where he's going on Underdog. He can't be crazy expensive. He shouldn't be. at all.
No, even with receivers getting pushed up there, it can't be.
62. Wide receiver
Yeah, that's
62.
fair.
Yeah.
I think that's the
Yeah.
right
I think
range.
that's where we have him in our rankings as well. I mean, 62 puts him around your guy, Cedric Tillman. So, Xavier Legette, Hollywood Brown, Kyle Williams, other rookie Kyle Williams.
Yeah, you might see Hollywood Brown move up a little bit too, depending on the Rice suspension, the length of it too. But I think that's another guy that can move
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, I agree. So just just news with Mike Williams again. Just yeah, decided to call it quits, and so it's disappointing. But the Chargers now have to kind of turn their attention to Trey Harris, Quentin Johnston. We'll see who's able to step up in the next couple weeks. They were the first team to show up to training camp, so they are full go in training camp. We'll get the the highlight plays. It's my favorite time of the year, Adam.
Oh
Look at
yeah,
this. Look
that'll
at
be
this
all
guy.
over. I
It'll
think
be
yeah, it's
awesome.
because it's the is it the Chargers Texans in that Hall of Fame game? Oh, Lions, right?
Oh,
That's why it
oh, I
is
forgot. We have football this month.
July 31st,
Hey,
which is
it's not
what 2 weeks
nothing.
away. Yeah,
Yeah, love that. Oh, that'll be fun. Who do you say it was? Chargers,
It
Lions?
thinks it is right. Chargers
I
Lions.
don't know.
I
I
know the
don't.
Chargers are in it. That's why they
Okay.
reported first. I think it's the
Hey, we've got
Lions.
football this month. Look at us. It's starting to
Yeah,
happen here. It's starting to happen. All right. I like that.
less than 2 weeks. Yeah, it's on a
That's
Thursday, so
awesome.
here we go.
Hmm. All right, that's awesome. I will say, just really, since we're still on news here, let me just mention that Anthony Richardson. Do you believe the report that
No,
he is? Oh, okay.
I don't
Well
believe.
then, should we just move on?
Nah, it's just I don't know.
So they're
All the vibes are
they're
that
so funny.
is that Daniel
The
Jones is going to start.
So the report is that Anthony Richardson's shoulder is good to go. That he should be good for training camp. Believed to be the. I love that the headline is shoulder believed to be okay. So it's not great. It's not 100%, but it's just okay. I do think. So he had the season-ending surgery to repair the AC joint sprain during the 2023 season. It's unfortunately the same shoulder that's bothering him, but I do, if I want to put a positive spin on this, Adam, it is good that at least he's going to camp, right? Because if he was going to miss, days, maybe it was going to be a week or a couple weeks, like that was already going to hinder him. So at least now he's going in there. He's going to take reps that are, very valuable to him because of this quarterback competition with him and Daniel Jones. So, I mean, at least he looks like he's going to be good for the start of camp. They start next week.
Yeah, and it's a big camp for him, obviously, because they're saying he's going to battle Daniel Jones for the job, and
Yep.
if he can't stay healthy, then it's going to be a major problem. So I think a lot of people are assuming that Jones is going to be the starter. To me, it's just based on what the Colts have done. Again, they have not put Richardson in a position that they believe in him. Everything they have done shows you that they don't think he's the guy.
Yeah, I agree. Which is, we've talked about this, disappointing because we believe that if you're going to draft someone like Anthony Richardson, it's going to be a project, and you have to understand that you're going to have to put time and effort into him. And I don't think he's necessarily gotten that. Daniel Jones, we have said before though that if we're drafting any of these receivers, any Tyler Warren, that we would hope that Daniel Jones becomes the quarterback because of how bad Anthony Richardson has been through the air. Is that how you're approaching it in drafts? If people are doing drafts here in the next couple weeks, are you just saying if you want to walk away with one of these guys, just go and draft Daniel Jones and don't even look in Anthony Richardson's direction?
I right now I don't think you're drafting either guy in a typical. Are you talking best ball or redraft?
No, just in case people are doing redraft. I'm just curious what the next couple weeks you would be doing. Like his camp, we're gonna be here for two and a
Yeah,
half, 3 weeks.
I don't think either guy will be
Okay.
drafted. If you're talking, now I have seen some like high stakes drafts where Richardson is gone, 18th round. I understand why you would do it just because of the rushing potential, but we don't even know if he's going to start. So there's plenty of depth at quarterback that I don't even think you need to
Okay.
dip into that area. I did take Daniel Jones in a Scott Fishbowl as my third quarterback,
All right.
but
That's
again,
different.
different format.
Yeah.
So where,
Super flex last quarterback, would you consider?
yeah, I
That's a
think you
no.
in a super flexing you would have to because all starting quarterbacks pretty much get taken, and some of the backup. So in a situation like this where there is a battle and we don't know who's going to start, yeah, you're going to take him as third quarterback because what's the worst case scenario? Daniel Jones wins the job and you cut him?
Yeah.
Or some people might even hold on to him for a couple weeks. So Superflex is different just because you might even see like a Kirk Cousins get drafted in a Superflex league, thinking, okay, well, there could be a trade or an injury. So there's never going to be like a starting quarterback on the waiver wire or someone who could win a job. So in that scenario, yeah, you could take him as the third quarterback and put him on the bench and see if he wins the job. Because I think Richardson and Jones will both be drafted in a super flex league.
Yeah, and again, it's Daniel Jones. You're not super happy and excited about the name, but we saw a good Daniel Jones in 2022. I know that that's a few years removed from that,
And he
but
can run. And again,
and
if you are looking at the receivers for the Colts, you are leaning towards Jones. I
you
mean,
are.
we've seen Jones throw to the slot a lot in New York. So, and with Richardson, it's just been you couldn't start a lot of your guys at receiver.
Yeah, it's and let me just say this, and I'm not necessarily in on this yet for Daniel Jones, but how many times over the last couple of years have we seen a quarterback's career turn around where we just didn't really expect it? So we've gotten that over the last couple of seasons where we think they're kind of just done and they're just going to be, a body in that quarterback room, and all of a sudden we see, a Geno Smith, a Sam Darnold, a who else did it? Like, it's just been a turnaround for some of these guys. Baker Mayfield, no, he's not gonna be I don't think he's gonna be Baker Mayfield, but we really have seen that over the last couple of seasons. So, if there's any quarterback that's on the radar that could maybe have that turnaround, if Daniel Jones gets the starting job, we could only hope.
Oh, I
Right
would
now, it's
love
only
to
hope.
see that Jones thrive and just really get Giants fans upset.
I knew it was gonna be for that reason and that reason only with you. But I mean, hey, it's true. Anything could happen. I'm not sitting here saying it's him yet. We'll have to see what it looks like in camp. But again, Anthony Richardson's shoulder, they said is okay. Not great, not fantastic, not 100%, but it looks like he will be good to get to the start of training camp. So something we'll have to watch out for sure. We're going to continue on here. I'm going to get to some of those breakout wide receivers. Also have receivers that have good upside or safe floors. I'm wondering which ones we want to go to. We're going to do that coming up next. This is Fantasy Life right here. Kendall Valenzuela, Adam Ronis, at K Valenzuela 17, at Adam Ronis over there on X on Twitter. We've got the phone lines open as well, 888-963-2682, or you can press that new call-in button on the Sirius XM app. That's an interesting song choice, Adam. I didn't know.
That was not my choice. Like anyone who knows me knows I would never pick that. I don't even know what that was.
I forget the name. I know Ani knows. I think
Okay,
that was an Ani song, but we'll
probably.
figure it out here. We'll
So
figure it out
it
here.
wasn't
Oh,
good,
Tate
so it had
McRae.
to
I
be
knew
on
that.
it.
I knew that. I knew that. It was Tate McRae. Okay. From the F1 movie. Yes, which I haven't gone in. I would need to go see that.
You don't go see as many movies,
No.
right?
No. No, not like Ani. No, I
No,
don't
he
have
goes
the
like every day.
You've got he's got the AMC pass thing. I need to go and do that. I want to go see that movie so bad. Maybe this weekend. Since you're not going to the beach,
Well, I
maybe
don't
you go
know.
see a
I mean,
movie.
the
Oh, okay.
like, would you go to the beach if it's like cloudy?
Yeah, because you could still have a high UV. Like you could still, you know.
It's not as good if it's just cloudy. Like you want some sun.
Okay. All right. Well, then don't,
We'll
you've got
see. I
you've got a
mean, it
few
could
more
be
weeks.
last
You'll be
minute.
okay.
It could be last minute. Maybe
All right.
just wake up. Like you know what? Let's go.
I like it. I like it. Just there's potential there. We're going some intriguing upside, safer floors. I saw this article at ESPN. Wanted to bring up some names, and if you kind of agree with, hey, this guy maybe has higher upside. Maybe this guy we draft him because he has a safe floor. I'm curious because I know we've talked about Jared Goff here before and how his price has come back down. It feels way better than when we were talking about him a couple months ago, and he was going as a top 12 quarterback in fantasy football on Underdog. But Jameson Williams right now, where do you see what kind of season do you have? Because he's in the players with higher upside category. But when we've talked about Jared Goff and the potential for regression through the year there, I am a little bit cautious about Jameson Williams because also again, this is Underdog, so it's going to be a little bit different than when you're drafting on platforms like ESPN, Yahoo, even going into the DraftKings Best Ball. But wide receiver 25. He's not cheap here going into the season.
No, he isn't, and most of the Detroit offense isn't. So even with Goff, you know, coming down a little bit, I still think he's going to throw 30, 32 touchdowns. For fantasy, it's just he doesn't run. So that's the biggest factor. He kind of doesn't separate himself. Obviously, the change in offense with Ben Johnson gone is something to look at too for Detroit. Losing their center, Frank Ragnow, as well. Still think they'll be good, right? They have a lot of pieces
Yeah.
in place. You just hope that they just keep a lot of similarities in the offense. But yeah, I mean, Williams is pricey, but he's explosive too. So I don't think I've taken him yet, but he's going around wide receiver 25. So it's a high price tag to pay for him because he got it done on limited receptions because he's such a big play
And
threat.
targets.
Yeah.
He had 91 targets and he had that breakout season last year. He had 1,062 total yards, 8 touchdowns in 15 games.
Yeah, so that's going to be the key. If the targets don't go up, then what kind of season are we expecting from him? But I think when we went over it, he finished in points per game right around wide receiver 25.
20, yeah, he finished as IC 24 right here.
24. Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
saying I said around. I wasn't
Oh,
looking at
yeah,
it
yeah.
exactly, but yeah, so he finished in that range. So I think the hope is for people drafting him is that he sees an increase in targets. But where's it going to come away from? On Ross St. Brown, you got Laporta, you got Gibbs. So that's the thing. And they were a great offense last year. I don't think you can expect them to put up the same amount of points again, right?
Yeah, that's where I get nervous because if we're expecting, and again, we expect Jared Goff regression, but that doesn't mean that he's outside the top 20 quarterbacks when we look at the projections. But you just expect a little bit less through the air, just a little bit, pulled back there, and you still have, Jameson Williams with 91 and a half projected targets. Because Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's still going to get 130 plus. We have him 134 right now on Fantasy Life. Tim Patrick still, it's not like he's taking things away, but he's still going to get, 32. We've got 32 and a half going to Tesla, the rookie receiver that they just drafted. So yeah, Jameson Williams. That's why it's a big question for me. Is I haven't taken any of him either because I just don't like the price tag at wide receiver 25. I think is what I said. If we can expect things to come back down, receiving yards, and this is where you're right, he changes because he is explosive, and you can get a lot out of Jameson Williams, but projected right now receiving yards 898. It's a huge drop back.
Yeah, it is. Uh, we did see him stay consistently involved in the offense down the stretch. He had at least 7 targets in 7 of his last 8 games. So if you get that consistently, the thing with him too is he can take it to the end zone or break off a big reception on any play. Like I remember playing like his over longest reception prop kind of consistently because he would get it done on one. Like,
Yeah.
his longest reception was 82, but he had like 52, 50, 37, 64. So that's the thing. He has shown that's who he is, right? You get him the ball in space, he's going to break off a long reception. So he is one of those guys that he really doesn't need a huge target share to return. He showed it last year, wide receiver 25 in points per game. So people are drafting him at basically where he finished last year in points per game with the hopes that the targets increase. They have been talking him up a lot this
Yep.
entire offseason. So uh, I'm willing to draft him. It just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, and I think, when we look at his profile too, and what we've talked about before with him is the boomer bust wide receiver 3, but then when you look at the price, you say the borderline wide receiver 2 finish is definitely on the table. I'm not here to say it's not, but I just get a little bit more cautious when we're talking about teams that can continue to produce multiple top 24 wide receivers in PPR points per game. Because we don't, it's not something that we see all the time. And so if we're betting, that this could happen for him again this year, you're really drafting him right now, like you said, at where he finished in
So
2024.
he actually had a pretty good floor last year. So he had 2 games of one. Every other game, he had at least 8.3. And there were
Yeah, it's not
many
bad.
weeks of double digits.
Yeah,
What happened in
save
the?
floor.
Yeah, he had 1 game of 1 reception for 9 yards against the Cardinals, and then he had another game of 1 reception. for no yards against the Vikings in a 31-29 game.
Hmm.
But after that, everything else, it was a high floor. So
Okay.
you would hope, I'm guessing you would hope that the price would be cheaper and then you would be more in. Like last year, he was, I think, an eighth, ninth round pick.
Yeah, he went later. I understand the price though, because people are. I mean, you're there. It's still exciting. The Lions are still an exciting offense that you want a piece of. But again, I haven't taken him much because he goes around Xavier Worthy, DK Metcalf, Devontae Smith, Cortland Sutton.
I could see taking him over Smith.
Yeah,
I
he's
could
he's
see that.
priced. Smith is wide receiver 26.
Here's
Sutton
the
is wide
thing.
receiver 27.
s- There has to be a bust or two on this Detroit offense with the way we're drafting them, right? Look at how
Has to
many
be.
Lions players are going early.
Yeah, they're one of the most expensive offenses to draft right now.
So my guess is you think then Williams could be that bust.
I think he could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just because it's not gonna like maybe it's Amon-Ra St. Brown, like I said, is still gonna get his. They're not, we know that for sure. But again, if you believe that two top 20, that Jared Goff and this offense with a new offensive coordinator can enable multiple, top 24 wide receivers, then I can see why you're drafting him. I just haven't taken him as much because I like other receivers in that range.
I mean, we did see St. Brown's targets go down last year.
Hmm.
Right? They went from 164 to 141.
And we see it
His
this year
yards
too,
went down.
134 projected. So it's going down again.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been a big question for me on whether I should, make sure to get some exposure to. And I will over these next few weeks because we draft a lot, but he's been one that I just haven't gotten to yet. I want to talk about a guy with potentially safe floors. We just talked about Jameson Williams saying, "Hey, maybe his floor was actually pretty good last season." I've got two names and I'm curious if you agree with safe floor and targeting these guys. We're going to go through them coming up next. Jacoby Myers, Adam. That's the name I wanted to shout out here. Going through, upside safe floors. Would you consider him a safe floor kind of pick if you're looking on Underdog or any of your drafts right now and saying, okay, you know what? He averaged 14.4 points per game last season. He had 10, I believe I'm looking at it right, games with double digit fantasy production. 6 games with at least 10 targets. We know that that's going to change a little bit because of how they drafted just a couple months ago. You got Pete Carroll there now. You've got Geno Smith. Let Geno cook. But Jacoby Myers, do you see him as just kind of a safe floor guy?
Yeah, I don't think there's a huge ceiling. The lack of touchdowns is the big concern there. Only 4 touchdowns last year. Two came in the final 2 weeks. So, Brock Bowers, too, you would expect to score more touchdowns, right? Because I
You would
think
think.
people might not realize he only had 5 touchdowns last year for as good as he was. You do have Ashton Genty coming in too, who's probably going to take away or score some touchdowns. So that would be the biggest thing. But yeah, Jacoby Myers, I think, has a pretty high floor if you expect this offense to be competent, right?
I'm excited for this offense. Geno Smith in there? I mean, at least a better quarterback play,
It
right?
is definitely better quarterback play. And we saw it. Jacoby Myers still, despite that, put up numbers. Brock Bowers put up numbers. So
Yeah.
yeah, it is a tough division. That's for
It
sure.
it is. It is definitely. We know that. But PPR points per game, I mean, last season for Jacoby Myers, 14.5. Wide receiver, what was that?
30.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
need
see,
I need my glasses. He's
that's
going right now as wide receiver 41.
yeah, so if you think he can come close to last year, then you're getting some value there. But I think the ceiling isn't high, which is why he is priced in that range. I think people
Yeah,
look at it and
agree.
go, yeah, okay, fine, cool. He has a high floor. But I think people always are looking for the breakout in that range or looking for someone that can surpass that.
Is
But
Jack
sometimes the high floor is needed. It also depends on how you
Yeah.
draft. Maybe if you took a lot of boomer bust players early on. Like if you did take a Jameson Williams, maybe you counteract that with the Jacoby Myers later.
I'm surprised that Jack Besh hasn't. I thought he would kind of be a little bit closer to Jacoby Myers in a way, but Jacoby Myers, like I said, wide receiver 41, Jack Besh right now, wide receiver 67.
Yeah, there was a report
Um,
that Dante Thornton might be ahead of Besh.
Yeah, I read that, and
Hmm.
I'm surprised, but that's another thing where we're gonna see in training camp.
Yeah.
Like, that's why it's so important in these next few weeks. But I did think that, people were pretty high on him a couple months ago, and it feels like it cooled off just a little bit with Jack Besh coming out. That's
Yeah, no,
okay.
it feels that way. And again, that could change too with training camp coming up and, you see different results.
Yeah, he should be a front runner for potentially wide receiver 2 role here, but that's again, it's another one where you get reports right now where maybe he's buried a little bit more than we expected on the depth chart, and we're just gonna have to watch that one. The last name I wanted to bring up for safe floor, Wan'Dale Robinson. Wide receiver, New York Giants. What do you think about that? Because I don't go into drafts and say, "Oh, well, there's
I
Wan'Dale
don't think
Robinson.
anyone
I gotta
does.
I gotta make sure to go and get him." But let me look at where he's going. Wide receiver 72. So you're not paying a high price for him.
140 targets last year,
That's insane.
right? I don't think if you asked most people,
I would
140 targets, 699 yards.
I wouldn't even come close to guessing that. That's for sure. Right now we have him projected for 101 targets this year. Maybe we should be talking more about Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yeah,
You're like,
PPR
"No, I
leagues, but
refuse. I refuse."
yeah.
It is time for the Fantasy Life Water Cooler. We're gonna take all your phone calls, get your messages read. We're gonna do that coming up here next. It is our favorite time of the day. Time for that Fantasy Life Water Cooler, going through all the pieces of news that you might have missed. And there was a lot yesterday, making sure we recap those for you, all the notes that we had in the first hour. And of course, taking your phone calls, making sure we're getting you ready for the upcoming 2025 NFL season. 888-963-2682 is the phone number to call in, or you can press that new call in button on the SiriusXM app and have your questions ready. And as always, fantasylife.com. That's where you want to go when we're talking about any sort of projections, consensus rankings. It is all right there for you. And we've got amazing new upgrades to the website. So fantasylife.com to go and check that out. Use that code at checkout too, SXM20. That gets you 20% off any tier one or tier two subscription. We've got cool things happening this week, Adam. I don't if anyone follows Pete Overzet, you can go check out his Twitter to see what's dropping here shortly. It should be really really fun for us to talk about, especially. But we've got Draft Champion, we've got Rankings HQ, everything you need to dominate your leagues. Our articles are 100% free. Same with our newsletter in your inbox 7 days a week. So make sure you guys go and check that out at fantasylife.com. Let's get into it, Adam, and then you can go to the beach. It's almost time. It's almost time to go to the beach.
It's
You're
very
so
cloudy
close.
outside today.
That stinks.
Yeah.
It's been beautiful here. I hate to tell you that, but it's been stunning. Like
Well,
at
thanks. It's
80
been
here, sunny
humid
every
as hell
day.
over here.
Yeah. When's your next softball game before we get into this?
Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, gotta win. It's
You got to win. Oh,
lose
win or
and
go
we're
home.
done. So the only way we
Mm,
can win a championship, we have to win 3 straight games.
I think that's doable. I
It
think you guys
is.
can do that.
It
Yeah.
absolutely is. It can be done.
Wait, listen, pressure's on.
There's
So
no pressure.
everyone remember to send Adam a message on Monday and say good luck in your softball game. But we'll get updates from you. Don't worry about that. All right, let's start from just a few pieces of news that we talked about at the top of the hour. Make sure everyone knows and is up to date. Rashee Rice sentenced to 30 days of jail time. So he was sentenced to 30 days, 5 years probation yesterday for his role in that multi-car crash that happened last year. Just now, Adam, we have to wait. There's not a ton of advice that we can give besides just wait and see what this potential suspension is going to look like. And hopefully they get that. I don't know. Hopefully they get that done sooner rather than later so we just have the clarity and we know what's going to happen. I saw a message over on Twitter asking if there's any way that either him or Jordan Addison can try to appeal the suspension and push it back. My answer is that I don't know, Adam. I don't know if they're going to be able to try and do that. I don't even know if they can do that. But that is definitely a really good question and one that we'll just have to wait. But we pushed him back in our rankings a lot, and then of course we moved up Xavier Worthy a good amount as well. So if you're drafting right now, best ball is a little bit different. But if in the next couple of weeks you've got redraft leagues going on, just kind of one of those things where we say be careful. No, you're probably going to get zeros. We're hoping for maybe 2 or 3 games. But if it goes up to six, that does make a huge difference there for Rashee Rice.
It does. And someone sent me a message. They started a draft last night and Rice went 2-11. So I don't get
Wow.
that either. So
Maybe they didn't see it
no, come
happen.
on. How do you not see it in
I
today's
don't know. I'm
environment where
trying
you
I'm
have
trying to give him the
notifications?
benefit of the
You're
doubt.
if you play fantasy sports, you've got to be on social media. You
Yeah.
have to follow news. So you can't be that oblivious that you didn't know. So yeah, he's got to fall in drafts at
He
this
has
point.
to.
And we just look, by the time your redraft leagues come around, your really important ones, I'm assuming most do their important drafts late August, early September. Not saying the ones now are not important because there could be money on the line. But for most people, hopefully we have clarification in news. If you're doing it now, you're probably going to see Rice. I mean, he should go, what would you say, fifth, sixth round if you were drafting
He
today? Is that where
he
you would pull the
should.
trigger? Sixth round?
That's it, sixth round. If he fell to me, I would consider it, yes, because at that point you have solid receiver. You should have solid receivers ahead of you. Even if you're starting three wide receivers in that league. So if you fell to six, yeah, I would consider taking him.
Then, but if it was 6 games, that would be tough. I mean, that
Yeah,
is a
6 games
significant
is
portion of the
brutal.
season.
And you can tell yourself on the other side that he did look good when he was playing last season. He was I know one of Dwayne McFarland's most drafted players. You were very high on him as well. So I can see the other side where people just say it's 6 games. If he does fall to me in the sixth round, I've got solid wide receivers that I can play in place of him until he's ready to go, and then he's healthy and ready for the biggest time of the year, which is the fantasy playoff push starting in week 15. So I also see that part of it. But if you are drafting him, you just really need to prepare yourself, because you've taught me this, Adam. It's like you want to prepare for the worst, and if it doesn't happen, that's going to be great. But if you are drafting right now, just prepare for 6 games, and if it's less, then you're a lot more excited. But just be prepared to take those zeros.
Yeah, they have a bye in week 10 as well. So,
Oof.
yeah, look, it's going to be a challenge. If it's 2 to 4 games, that's you can live with that.
It's
It's the
manageable.
sixth that could be a problem. And I don't know, it felt like the punishment would have been more severe legally for what happened. So, but I guess I don't know. We'll see how the NFL reacts to it.
Yeah, if it is 6 games, so the sixth game he comes back for the seventh, and that starts out a run of the Raiders, Commanders, Buffalo Bills, then your bye week, then you have the Denver Broncos, Indianapolis Colts, Dallas Cowboys, Houston Texans. You start the fantasy playoffs with the Chargers, the Titans, and you end week 17 with the Broncos.
Yeah, we have a pretty good defense.
That's yeah. It's again one we just have to wait and see. I really hope. You think that they're going to drag this out? You don't think when I don't even have a timeline of when we would know what a suspension would look like.
I would hope it happens in the next couple of weeks because what they were waiting for was a legal decision. They have it now,
Yes.
so there shouldn't be. Why should this take a long time?
Here's hoping. Let's find out. So again, Rashee Rice was sentenced to 30 days jail time and then 5 years probation. Just to point this out again, he does not have to serve. He can serve that jail time at any point during the 5 year probationary period. So just something that we're gonna have to watch out for. Same with Jordan Addison. Yesterday did plead to a lesser charge in that DUI case. This was one where we knew it was coming. We know that this was supposed to happen maybe on Tuesday, but then they changed it to Thursday. And yeah, it's his lawyer tweeted, or his agent tweeted, that they are going to take that lesser charge. The NFL said in a statement on Thursday that we have been closely monitoring all developments in the matter, which remains under review. This is another one though, Adam, where we know that a suspension is coming. Like I said, if you look at the policy from the NFL, it's usually at bare minimum discipline for a first offense will be a suspension without pay of 3 regular or postseason games. So I think we can expect minimum 3 games. But Jordan Addison, right now, like you said earlier in the show, was already being drafted because with this in mind, like this, his price is pretty reflecting of what we thought his suspension was going to be. So, we expected this one.
Yeah, and the Vikings open up against the Bears, Falcons, and Bengals. So missing that Bengals game would be
Yeah.
a little sad if you had Addison. And then, assuming it's 3 games, he'd come back against the Steelers.
Okay. Three
Oh,
games
that's a
isn't. We'll
nine
have to
thirty
see.
game. So I guess that's
Nine
overseas.
thirty. Oh, Ugh.
Yeah, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. So we have a
We have a
overseas
lot
game
of
already in week 4?
we have a lot of
Oh
international
yeah,
games
that's
this
right. They did
season.
expand it.
Yeah.
You don't like it, right? Because it's way early for you.
It's early. I don't mind them. I mean, last season we were doing our show anyway,
That's
so we
true.
I was
Yeah.
already awake, but it is really early.
Yeah, this is a Dublin game. Week
Oh, that's
4.
fun.
Week
Ah,
4, Minnesota and Pittsburgh.
that'll be fun. I don't mind them, but I think once we get halfway through the season and they're still going on, that's when I get a little fatigue. Having making sure your lineups are set that early and making sure you've got everyone picked up off the waiver wire that you want. That's just by week 10, I'm like, okay, let's wrap this up.
Yeah, look, I don't mind more football standalone. It's always good, but yeah, 9:30 is a little early. And
It's a
for you,
little bit
6:30
early.
a.m.? Jeez.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm already usually awake by that point, but still, it's gonna be fine. But Jordan Addison, yeah, that DUI case will at minimum it looks like it'll be 3 games. We'll see how much more that could be. And then Mike Williams retired. That last one here, and then we'll get to the new news. But Mike Williams retired. The good news is that Trey Harris did get his rookie contract signed, Adam. So he is going to be able to get out there, start getting that playbook down, get that chemistry going. So that's good news for him. And we've kind of seen now that there a lot of these rookie second round picks are signing their contracts, which was good. There was a little bit of a holdup there because of the guaranteed money that they wanted. But it looks like RJ Harvey, we talked about him. The Broncos did sign him to a 4-year deal, and we saw some others get that too yesterday. So that's important. We'll keep an eye on anyone that maybe potentially doesn't show up, but it looks like they should all be good to go, hopefully.
Yeah, it seems that way. And that was something we talked about earlier in the week where it looked like it could be an issue. But fortunately, most of these teams and players have come to an agreement and these guys will be on the field.
Thank goodness, because we didn't want to. That would have been a
We have
mess if we
enough
had to.
legal stuff to
We've
worry
got
about.
enough stuff to watch out for. Come on, get these, pay these guys. It was just about the guarantees though. So we should, be getting a lot of news of these rookie second round picks getting signed. RJ Harvey was one that I was hoping would come through sooner rather than later. All right, let's get into it. Next part of the water cooler here. Just wanted to make sure we went through all the news that we talked about earlier this morning. 888-963-2682 is the phone number to call in. Can I just mention the TJ Watt agreement? And now he's the highest paid non quarterback right now. Shout out TJ Watt. Has nothing to do with us in fantasy football, but that was pretty cool news to see.
Yeah, figured this would happen. And now the Cowboys waiting.
I was going to ask you, what
Yeah,
is, well, I mean, we're not surprised about what's been going on over there. But yeah, the TJ Watt agrees to a 3-year, $123 million extension. And pouring, just Jerry Jones just wants to wait, Adam. He wants to make your life a little bit miserable.
yeah, with Micah Parsons because he needs a contract. So we've seen it. It happens with all these guys. I mean, Jamar Chase, right? You wait
Yeah.
for to be the last one to pay these guys, and the price is only going to go up. So it makes sense if you do have intention to sign that player, get it done earlier. Otherwise, you're going to want to pay more money.
It's brutal, but yeah, shout out to TJ Watt. Now is again the highest paid play non-quarterback right now. Then you have Jamar Chase, Miles Garrett. Yeah, so shout out to the Steelers and getting that done. I want to talk to you next part here about just Colston Loveland. I know we've talked about the Bears. I know we've talked about Caleb Williams. You and I mentioned, we saw a quote going around earlier this week saying talking about his shoulder because he held his first football camp for kids, I think earlier this week, and they were asking him about his surgery to repair his AC joint in his shoulder. The quote was, "It's been good. There hasn't really been anything flying yet. We'll know live in camp once I get out there doing a lot more stuff." Curious for you because we talked about how some of these rookies did not land in the best spots for us for fantasy football. Colston Loveland maybe being one of them. Tyler Warren's probably a little bit worse, landing with the Colts. Has he been someone that you're willing to draft at cost right now, or is he someone that's right in the middle? You don't necessarily like how many options are on this offense right now that you've been passing more times than not.
No, I'm willing to take them because they invested such a high draft pick. And with Ben Johnson and what he did, Will Laporta in Detroit, he's going to use him. I mean, it didn't make any sense to not. If you're going to draft him that high, you clearly have plans to use him. So I'm interested in taking him at cost. And usually it's going to be paired with another tight end, right? Because I'm not
Yeah.
if I'm taking a George Kittle, then I'm not taking him. It makes no sense. But if I'm passing on the top guys and I'm getting away from the mid tier, I would take him and then another tight end. And what the hope is that one of them becomes an every week starter. But yeah, I understand there's a lot of different players that they could throw the ball to on offense, but they clearly had intentions of using him in a significant role.
Yeah, I agree. And there's plenty to be optimistic about too when you look at Ben Johnson's history with Sam Laporta, when you look at, his draft capital, like you said, how high they got him. I Cole Kmet has always been this has been weird, if we because sometimes I do like to follow the money. Ryan Poles gave him a 4-year, $50 million extension in 2023. They really can't get out of this contract, at least without a trade before 2026. Is he anyone that you think could, take away from Colston Loveland or not necessarily? He's just always been in the back of my mind. I know that he shouldn't be probably, but it's just always odd when you can't really get rid of him.
Yeah, I don't think so. Again, yeah,
Okay.
they paid him, but Ben Johnson didn't. And Ben Johnson's like, yeah, this is my offense,
True.
and I want Loveland to be the guy. So yeah, I don't think you're gonna see Komet really do much in this offense.
All right. Let's hope the shoulder's good to go. That's another thing we're gonna have to watch in training camp there. Just throwing this out there as well. I know we've talked a lot of Najee Harris, but they did place him on that NFI list yesterday. So totally confirmed he's gonna be on the NFI list to start training camp again. This doesn't matter until they make roster cut downs. If he's not on the 53 by then he will have to miss 4 games minimum. But I can't. From everything that I've read, Adam, we're not expecting that to happen. But the eye injury is serious, and we know that. But just really good news for not good news. We never want injuries, but for Omari and Hampton drafters, we'll just have to wait and see when Najee Harris is going to be able to get back out there. I will say the Athletics' Daniel Popper said that if Najee Harris misses time in training camp, the quote possibility of Hampton becoming the lead back is even more likely. So
Yeah,
might
get
be
ready to
done
pay up.
drafting.
That
Yeah,
price
might
is
be.
only rising. I saw him go in the third
Has
round
he?
of a
Ooh,
draft last night,
really?
and
On underdog?
no,
Okay.
but he's not going to go in the third round of underdog because the
Mm,
receivers go so high there. But
yeah.
yeah, Hampton is going to be pricey now. I think people are already excited for him because of landing in such a good offense and never really looked at Najee Harris as a threat. So now with Harris potentially missing some time and Hampton getting to work with the first team, his price is just going to rise.
I don't know. I could see him sneak into the third round.
Yeah, I saw him go third round last night.
No, on underdog. I
Oh, an
bet I could
underdog?
see it.
Where is he now?
He's going early fourth. He's
Okay,
going
so then
pick
yeah, yeah.
40. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know if you're putting him if you're drafting on underdog, you'd have to place him then ahead of Kyron Williams or Brees Hall. I don't know if people are gonna do that.
Most will not. There might be a couple that do.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be me.
It could be.
In some of these drafts. So just again, you watch what's happening there. But you guys already know if you were drafting Amari and Hampton, you were paying up for him. But this is better news than you expected because maybe it was going to be something where he finally took over that backfield, later in the season, week 6, week 8. But now this kind of gives him the runway to take over a lot earlier than we probably expected with this Najee Harris eye injury. So that was the Fantasy Life Water Cooler. Again, if you have any questions, call in 888-963-2682 or press that new call in button on the SiriusXM app. Head over to fantasylife.com. Make sure you check out all of our great upgrades over there. We've got the Rankings HQ live, we've got Draft Champion, and all of those articles, and our newsletter is 100% free. We're going to continue on with our previews. We got to go through the Patriots, see who we like. One of our favorite quarterbacks to draft is Stephon Diggs actually going to be good in 2025. We're going to go through that and more coming up next. We're talking through the New England Patriots team preview and their outlook for the 2025 fantasy football season. Kendall Valenzuela here, Adam Ronis with you at KValenzuela17 at Adam Ronis over there on X. If you've got any questions for us. All right, Adam. New England Patriots, Drake May, one of our favorite later round quarterbacks that you can be taking we've talked about it. If you don't get that elite guy, if you're in that section of the draft where you've got Patrick Mahomes, Bo Nix, Kyler Murray, and you're not necessarily loving any of them, the New England Patriots last season, they were bad. This was a bad football team. Points per game, they were 30th. EPA per dropback, 23rd. EPA per rush, 30th. And then points per game against, 22nd. It was never really amazing. You look at what Drake May had around him, and there wasn't really great receiving options on that team. Not to say necessarily that Stephon Diggs is this whole huge upgrade, but at least it helps a little bit. But why do I'll ask you this and then I'll answer as well. But why do we like Drake May more going into this season than we did, with the potential last year?
Well, considering the state of the team around him last year, I thought he played pretty well.
Yeah.
The stats don't reflect it. He had 15 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, but he rushed for 421 yards. And we always talk about these quarterbacks that present this rushing opportunity. It just gives them a high floor. So he did this with one of the worst offensive lines, one of the worst receiving cores. Now, new coaching staff coming in. Mike Vrabel's always gotten his teams to overachieve. You could say what you want about Josh McDaniels as a head coach, but he's been good as an offensive coordinator. And they did add some pieces to the offense as well. You mentioned Stephon Diggs, and it might not translate to fantasy numbers, but that veteran
Yeah.
receiver who can get open is going to help. Drafting Kyle Williams in the third round, drafted a left tackle, Andrew Campbell, in the first round. So they needed some speed on the offense too, and they add that with Kyle Williams and Travion Henderson out of the backfield because they really didn't have that. But really, what I like about May is what he's going to do on the ground. So he basically had 11 full starts, averaged 38.3 rushing yards, and there were no really designed runs for him. They even said late in the year, yeah, just don't run as much. We want to keep you healthy for next season. So he's going to run, and this is a team that's definitely improved. I mean, their win total, too, it was 7.5 early in the offseason, and it's 8.5. So a lot of
Oh,
people
wow.
are buying into the Patriots here. And I think Drake May is a reason why. But for fantasy, he's really cheap. I don't think many people are going to go after him. There's a lot of drafts I see him go as the 16th quarterback off the board. So if you wait, you can get him and someone else. And maybe you want to pair him with a veteran, maybe him and Dak Prescott. Maybe you want to go for two upside and pair him with JJ McCarthy and hope one hit. But either way,
Yeah.
he's really cheap at this point. I don't think many people are expecting him to produce, but I could see him. I think he's going to be a QB1 when it's said and done at the end of the season. I think he's going to be top 12 in fantasy points per game.
I agree with you 100%. And I look at him, I know over 13 games last season, you said most of the stats, but the 2,276 yards, 15 touchdowns over those 13 games, but it's the yards per carry. He averaged 7.8 yards per carry, gives you that idea of the dual threat potential that he has. They've come out and said too that they're probably going to give him just more designed runs in this offense in 2025. Like that's something where I know we take everything with a grain of salt when we listen to these coaches and players talk. But when we hear that, and when we hear that there's potential for that to happen between his rushing ability, between his the arm and through the air, like he just really looks like one of these late round quarterbacks that you don't want to pass up on. So you've got Vrabel in there now as well. I think that helps. The coaching last season, it was just not as good as we thought it was going to be. You've got McDaniels in there to scheme him up effectively. You hope that Diggs steps up. I like Hunter Henry. He's another, late round tight end. If don't get what some of your guys, he is a cheap option that you can go and get, because I want to make sure. I mean, if I think that Drake May is stepping up this season, I also want to make sure that I'm getting some of the guys around him. So between Hunter Henry, between Stephon Diggs, and Kyle Williams is also another one. He's a rookie coming out. Are you mostly, or are you? I don't. Are you not drafting Diggs? Are you just really going after Drake May in this offense, and then Travion Henderson, and that's it?
Yeah, I agree with Henry as like a tight end too. I did take him in the Scott Fishbowl because I do have Drake May there though. So I
That's a
went.
good
I
start.
took
I
Drake May, Kyle
like
Williams,
it.
Hunter Henry. So I
I
need the
like that
Patriots to
though.
be pretty good. Henry had 97 targets last year. Like,
Yes.
and again, I'm not saying go get him at tight end, but
I
as a
am.
tight end too, as a backup tight end, in case he steps into a bigger role. He only had 2 touchdowns, but 97 targets, 66 receptions. So he could play again if the offense improves. I think he could play a part. So yeah, Diggs I haven't drafted. I think he's going to help more real life and Drake May than fantasy.
I like I just said, I'd take Henry. I know if he even let me see what his projections are at, but that was a career high 97 targets from last season. There's room to improve on that per reception basis if we think that Drake May really is going to step out. And then Travion Henderson is probably the my most drafted rookie running back right now in Henderson. I was talking with Ian Hartitz about this yesterday though on when we were doing that live draft. Ramondre Stevenson, is he a running back that, based on his cost and the potential for him to still be involved in this offense, are you not completely out on him because of that?
Yeah, I don't think you can be completely out because what if they decide that they use Henderson more on passing downs and Stevenson rebounds. I mean, the fumbling was somewhat of an issue last year. It is a different offense. Maybe he fits better. Maybe he's more motivated, comes in and does well. But Henderson is obviously the preferred guy. And Stevenson is going pretty late. People don't want him. So I think people look at this and they think Henderson's going to be the guy in the backfield.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I really like I really like Travion Henderson. And I know that maybe a 1A, 1B situation to start, right, Adam? That's just one of those things where we talk about that a lot with some of these rookies coming in, but that's one where it's probably expected here. I know that let me look for the projections, but I just like this team a lot, but especially Drake May. Drake May is the one that I'll probably have the most exposure to this season. And I'm excited about it.
Yeah,
Should be good.
I'd say him and Henderson. And like again, Hunter Henry's not a target, but when you look at a second tight end in that range, right? You might
Yeah.
say, all right, there's some safety there. He could get a lot of targets in this offense, like he did last year.
Let's hope so. This this is one where, it might be nerve-wracking to take him, but you just have to say, "Hey, it's Drake May. You're getting him at a cheap price and you're going to be okay with it." Ramondre, here's the splits for Stevenson Henderson. Ramondre Stevenson 162 rushing attempts, 700 yards, and 5 touchdowns there on the ground. Also 38 and a half targets, 30 receptions, and then 2 receiving touchdowns. Travion Henderson is sitting at 141 rushing attempts, 623 and a half rushing yards, and then looks like 4 rushing touchdowns. So they're very close in the projected fantasy point total. So 139.8 for Ramondre Stevenson, 130.6 fantasy points for Travion Henderson.
Yeah, just Henderson's gonna get his work in the passing game on screenplays, and he's the type of back that can do a lot with 12 to 15 touches per game. And they
Yep.
drafted him in the second round. They've talked about how he is really good as a pass protector. Uh, I think their GM, they've said that that's a big deal, right? A lot of running backs
Yeah.
coming out, you worry about pass protection because you got to keep the quarterback upright. So they've talked about that they really like that. So yeah, I think he's in a good spot, and he was taken in the second round. So they clearly have plans to use him heavily.
And for what it's worth, they have one of the easier strength of schedules for 2025. So, as if you don't look into that stuff, I do kind of look at that, especially because the 3 teams that have the easiest strength of schedules going into this season, San Francisco 49ers, of course, are at number 1, and then you have the New Orleans Saints, and then you have the New England Patriots. So that should help there as well. You just need better receiving work. Last season, that supporting cast was really, really bad.
Really bad, one of the
It
worst.
it was some of the stats that I saw was it's just awful. So you hope that it can't get worse, but I don't even want to say that right now. Javon Baker caught 1 pass last season.
Yeah,
Jalen Polk was just that was he had his average of 2.6 yards per target is the third worst mark in NFL history among wide receivers to earn at least 25 targets in a season. Just 25 in a season. That's how bad those two were.
and they were supposed to be
I
productive
know.
or at least give them something, and they literally almost gave them nothing.
I think that we could safely say they gave them nothing.
Yeah,
I don't even think it's close. It's not great. So I don't want to say that it could get worse because maybe it could, but
yeah.
here's
So
hoping it
they
doesn't.
Hunter Henry led them in receiving with 674 yards. Demario Douglas 621. Yeah, it was. I mean,
It
Austin
was
Hooper
bad.
was fourth. Their
Ew.
second tight end was fourth with 476 receiving
Oh,
yards.
yuck. Well, it's going to get better this year. I can feel it. We're manifesting it. We're drafting a good amount of Drake May. They've got the third easiest schedule, strength of schedule going into the 2025 season. And I'll say it. I guess I'll say it right now. It can't get worse. So if it does, we're not going to talk about it though. We'll just move right on past it. We're going to the reach of the week, the guys that we want to make sure we get in our teams no matter what. We're reaching for them. We're going to go through it here coming up next. Let's be real. You're here to win a fantasy championship. And guess what? You're not going to win playing it safe. You've got to go hard. And no one understands that better than Mike's Hard Lemonade. To succeed in fantasy football, sometimes you have to take bold risks. You already know you have to reach for the rookie. You have to make that blockbuster trade, or you have to blow all your fab on a breakout player. And sure, your league mates will probably roast you in the group chat. But hey, legends do not play scared. They go hard, just like Mike's Hard Lemonade. So make sure to crack open a cold Mike's, kick back for a second, and remember, nobody makes lemonade like Mike's. Find Mike's nearest you at www.mikeshard.com. Mike's is hard, so is prison. Don't drive drunk. Premium malt beverage with flavors. All registered trademarks used under license by Mike's Hard Lemonade Co., Chicago, Illinois. This is Fantasy Life right here. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you. It is time, Adam, for that reach of the week presented by Mike's Hard Lemonade. We know that it's draft season, Adam. You know it's time to go hard and or go home, I guess, really. We don't want to play it safe. We want to reach for our guys that we definitely like in drafts, no matter, well, depending on what the ADP is, but we're going to reach for them. You want to go first or me? Who's your reach of the
You
week
can
this
go
week?
first.
All right. I think I looked back on who I drafted the most this week. I'm going to go chalk first. I'm going to go chalk first because we talked about the Jawan Jennings news. This is very chalk, but George Kittle might be my most drafted tight end again. I took him a lot last season. I might take him more this season. The average of the 15.8 fantasy points per game last year, it was incredible. You've got Brandon Ayuk, who feels like maybe the worst case scenario could happen where he starts the year on pup and he misses the first 4 games. Jawan Jennings is mad about his contract situation. He wants a new one or he wants to be traded. I don't know. It just all feels like this is going to be another big year for George Kittle. And I know he's already expensive. So a reach is kind of, I'm reaching by saying that he's a reach, but he's just someone that I want on a lot of my teams this season. And so he right now is the tight end 3, of course, going behind Trey McBride and then Brock Bowers. Going around pick, I want to say, I think he's getting close to 38 right now on Underdog, but I just feel like that's the guy that I want this year. And I'm going to be okay paying up for him just because of the potential that he has with getting a few more targets than what we've seen over the last few seasons.
Yeah, I have taken him in a few drafts. Redraft will be interesting. I want to see how much the price rises as well. Like we could see him go into that third round, but right now he's generally in the fourth round, and I think it's fine if you're going to pay for a tight end that early. We saw last year in points per game at the position in PPR, he was number 1. He just needs more volume, and then he could finish overall in total points as the number 1 tight end. And maybe this is the year finally. Like last year was 94 targets in 15 games. It's the most targets he's seen since 2019. His second year, he had 136 targets. If we ever get that again, forget it. He'll just dominate the position. He's so efficient. And maybe they feature him more in this offense with everything that's gone on. Deebo Samuel is gone. Brandon
Yep.
Ayuk, as you mentioned, maybe misses the beginning of the season. And Jennings did step up and perform well last year. And Jennings is going to be in camp. He's not holding out, but he's not happy with his contract, or he wants it done or get traded. Ricky Pearsall showed some signs last year, but still, second year in the NFL. Christian McCaffrey is healthy right now, according to San Francisco. So that's good. But we know he's going to absorb a lot in the passing game too. But there literally is a chance that Kittle could be 1 or 2 in this offense in targets finally. And that's
Finally.
always been the issue with Kittle over the last few years is you're like, well, he's going to be 3rd or 4th on the team. But he's been so efficient and he does a lot with those targets that he's been fine as a tight end. But last year, the 78 catches were the most we saw since 2019. And a lot of it had to do with the injuries. So this is probably the best situation that we've seen Kittle in many years. Now it is also costing more because last year he was a
Yes.
seventh, eighth round pick. So he clearly returned tremendous value on that with the season he had. But yeah, I see it. Like I feel comfortable taking him. I generally don't like taking tight ends that early, but it's hard to go and argue against Kittle in round 4.
Yeah, I don't mind the fourth round price tag. And again, I could expect us here in the next couple weeks to talk about him in the third round. And that's where it does get a little, because when you go into the fourth round, you can usually, depending on what build you want to make, but you could get your anchor running back, get one of the elite running backs and then go on a run for, two solid wide receivers. If you're, my builds, I'll make sure to get three elite receivers in the first 3 rounds, then go get George Kittle in the fourth and make sure it by that fifth round, sixth round, I'm getting the Chuba Hubbards, the Kenneth Walkers of the world. And I think that's a really good spot to be in. But I also look at where he goes. And again, he goes in the fourth round right now. I can see him getting a little bit more expensive, but where he's going in these drafts is also, he's in a sweet spot to me where you're not exactly like giving up an elite no doubt option in this range, except for maybe you look at Amari and Hampton, you look at Jaden Daniels, but you've got DJ Moore, Tedderall, McMillan, James Cook, Mike Evans in that range in the fourth round. So you're not giving up those elite options. If he sneaks into the third round, then that's the conversation we'll have to have because that puts him near, Lamar Jackson, Brees Hall, Kyron Williams, Terry McLaurin. And that makes it a little bit more difficult. But yeah, he is definitely my reach of the week. And again, it's chalky, but we talked about Hunter Henry, so I feel like it's even now when we talk about tight ends. Anyone you're reaching for this week?
Yeah, it's Calvin Ridley. You
Yes.
can often get him as your wide receiver 4, and I'm willing to take him higher than his ADP. I think having Cam Ward there will help for sure because last year it was just a disaster for Ridley. He just was not getting many accurate targets thrown his way. And you look at this receiver room and you're like, okay, he should command a ton of targets. So Tyler Lockett is 33 in September and has definitely shown signs of decline. Alec Amenyor, they drafted, Van Jefferson, Xavier Restrepo. So there's not a lot here. So Ridley should get more accurate targets and a huge amount of volume. And he's sometimes being drafted outside the top 30 at wide receiver. And I think that's too low. Like he should be ranked higher. So I like reaching a little bit on Calvin Ridley.
I like the call out. He goes on underdog right now, wide receiver 32.
Yeah, he should be higher
So
than that.
he should crack the top 30, or in my opinion, he should be because that again, he's around Travis Hunter, Zay Flowers, Roma Dunze, which I don't, all those names. I know that I've drafted them, but I think Calvin Ridley, I love the call out because again, I want to believe that Cam Ward is going to be better. He's going to be better than what we saw last season. I feel like there's no doubt about that. And then with Calvin Ridley too, I always think it's interesting because he led the league in air yards and ranked sixth in downfield receptions last season. And again, the quarterback play was just straight up bad. So if he had all that opportunity last season, imagine what he's able to do if he can convert some of that this season into fantasy production. And so I agree with you that he is going a little bit too late. I know we have him ranked higher than that on fantasylife.com if you guys want to go and check that out. But I know people might look at Cam Ward and then they'll look at Calvin Ridley and be like, I don't want to. Why would I want to subject myself to that? But it's just one of those things where he is going to get 113 targets minimum. And then we have him for 64 and a half receptions, 900, just right there at 936 and a half receiving yards. But I think there's a lot left on the table for him there.
Yeah, he's had 1,000 yards back to back seasons. Also, too, on other sites, he's going in the 80 to 90 area overall. So I think in more casual formats, you're going to be able to get him at a real bargain. In more savvy leagues, he's going to go a little bit more expensive. But even on those sites, I think he should be going a little bit higher. Uh,
I agree.
again, depending on the way you have your build, you could get him as your wide receiver 4. So, like, if you go
I,
wide receiver heavy in, that's something I want.
I bet in some of like ESPN Yahoo, I
I'm
don't have
looking
that
at it. Yeah.
ADP.
Yeah, I
He
have it
has to
here.
be cheaper than that.
He's 81.9 on ESPN. He is 83.1 on Sleeper. He has 90.7 on Yahoo.
81.9. So that's more 40, what, wide receiver, like 46, 45
I don't know if it's that
pick?
high. No,
I'm looking at ADP. I'm looking at, because right now pick 80. Well, no, we'll
yeah,
pick 80
because
on
remember
under.
the
Yeah,
underdog,
I
the
know. You're
receivers
right. You're
just go so
right.
higher.
So maybe 40. So what would that be?
Probably in the 30s at wide receiver still, right?
39. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
So
Because
then,
these wide receivers get pushed. I'm gonna take him there every time. I agree with you.
yeah, it's
I really like
still a
that.
good price.
Still a good
Too cheap.
price. Because we got to, you know what, Adam, we got to be bold a little bit. And I don't know if Calvin Ridley is necessarily bold, but that's just someone where you look at this offense, people might be off of them because of what they didn't produce last season. But you want to kind of shed that recency bias, and you want to be bold in fantasy football. Fortune favors the bold, especially. That was Mike's Hard Reach of the Week, presented by Mike's Hard Lemonade. Make sure bold picks, bold flavors. See you next week with another hard reach from Mike's Hard Lemonade. We'll go through more names that we like next week. We're going to continue on, though. Adam, I wanted to ask your tips and tricks for first time auction drafters. Got some questions throughout the week, so I want to make sure that we go through those. We're going to do that here coming up next. It is Friday. You've made it. Congratulations. I'll say it, Adam. They can leave work, go to lunch, don't come back.
You said it.
Fantasy
So
Life says it.
if anything comes, any trouble, it all goes back to
Go to
Kendall.
go to
She
go to the
said it.
Coldplay concert. Don't come back. You're done.
Oh, well, that might have happened for a couple people
Stop.
recently.
I did bring it back up again. How is it Friday and we're getting bad news about your Cowboys already? What are we doing, Adam?
This is how it
Uh,
goes.
Jaden Blue, what'd you say? Lazy.
Yeah,
Accus- a-
they're not happy with
Reportedly,
his work ethic
accusation.
and he's lazy. That's
How
great.
can you not be
That,
happy with the work? Like, they aren't even at camp yet.
who knows?
That's got to
Uh,
be make it worse.
Let's hope
Anyway,
it's not real and it's some
I hope it's not real. They're just trying to draft him at a cheaper price. I think that's it.
maybe could be.
It is Friday, though. We appreciate everyone hanging out with us here today. Kendall Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you. It's been a great week. FantasyLife.com. Use that code SXM20. Gets you 20% off any Fantasy Life Plus subscription. Make sure you stick around, though. You've got the FSGA Futures and Prop Bets draft at noon. At 2 p.m. Eastern, you've got Elite Sports with Jeff Manns and Ted Schuster. At 5 p.m. Eastern, you've got Fantasy Footballers. At 6 p.m. Eastern, Fantasy Alarm with Howard Bender and Andrew Cooper. And then at 8 p.m., you've got Football Diehards with Bob Harris and Mike Dempsey. So keep it locked right here on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Can I just get your best tricks, tips for the first time auction drafters, or what people should expect? Because I feel like that's becoming you and I have both done them. You've done way more than me, but it feels like, it's a popular way to go. If you guys haven't done it, it's a fun way to get your drafts done. But what's your best piece of advice for anyone going into an auction draft for the first time?
Prepare to lose your first year.
Perfect.
No, but
I
no,
mean, realistically, probably it's
no.
difficult.
I think it is one of those things that you get better with experience. Like you can read everything, hear people tell you everything until you're in that environment and experience an auction. You have to go through it and experience it. But you need to be prepared. It's best to have a budget going in where you don't have to stick to it strictly, but have a budget and idea of what you want to spend. Like quarterback and tight end, you'll know. Do you want to spend on an elite quarterback? If you do, they're going to cost you $25, $30. If not, you can get them for cheap. Same with tight end. But you want to have a plan going in. If you just show up and you have no idea how you want to budget, you're going to be in big trouble. You got to pay attention to every pick. In a snake draft, if you're picking 12, some people will make their 2 picks and kind of tune out. I don't, because
Mhm.
I like to cross every name off and think about the next pick. But you see it. You've been at live drafts. If you're picking at the end, they'll make their picks. They'll go get a drink. They'll walk around, come back, and then say, you got to pay attention to every pick in an auction
Yeah.
because you got to see what the prices are. And early on, too, when it starts, you can tell, all right, people are overspending, or they're not spending enough. And that's really where you have to jump in. So say, for example, you have Jamar Chase at $60 and he gets thrown out and the bidding is slowing down at 53, 54, and it happens again with another elite receiver thrown out. that's a cue. Hey, I should jump in now because the
Mm,
prices are low. And if I wait, that's when people sit back like, oh, I have a lot of money. I can spend more. So you have to
okay.
read the room pretty early on. You could tell whether the people are not spending enough or they're overspending. And when you nominate players, you have to have a plan. Some
Yeah.
people like to nominate players that they want no part of, that are high priced players to get money off the table. You don't want to do that every pick because people will realize that. Maybe you want an elite running back, so you throw out one out early just to gauge what the market is on the price because you don't want to be the guy that's spending on the bottom of the tier, right? Because
Okay.
sometimes you'll
Yeah.
overspend. So it's a completely different environment strategy, but the only way you're going to get better is by doing it. And you could try a mock auction. It's not the same though, but uh, you most of the time it's going to be a transition that first year. And you never want to leave money on the table. Yeah, you see it a lot, like
Yeah.
because then you're like, well, I could have went that extra dollar or two on that elite player. So make sure you don't leave money on the table. I have seen auctions across all sports where people have left $15, $20 on the board.
Really?
Don't be
Don't
that
do
person.
that.
That is embarrassing.
Adam will shame you publicly. He'll talk about it on this show and say, get it together. I like that. There's an article if you're doing an auction draft at fantasylife.com. So make sure you go and check it out. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us this week. You guys are the best. Have a great, safe weekend. Fantasylife.com. Use that code SXM20, gets you 20% off. We'll see you same time here Monday.